All right. We are online and I'm just opening up the chat, right? I'm gonna be on mute. Just making sure if somebody is online. I just open up the chat. Super. All right. Okay, I'm gonna be recording this as well. All right, welcome to Unlocking Emotional Mastery, and we are on episode number 42. We're going to be dwelling deep into emotional insight as to how it is going to help us make better decisions, especially for busy moms juggling multiple roles. We need to be on quick on toes, right? On certain elements that when we are operating on unfamiliar zone, which is something very new, and it has to be on the go, on the fly. We just cannot look for any options or any help. At that point of time, how would you use your insights, especially using emotions? What is happening within you and what is happening around you? If you're a parent, how can you use emotional insights to read emotions in your child? It could be a heated argument or a tantrum or any moment, heated moment. You wouldn't have time to explore and experiment and a lot of things, right? So on that sense, how can you make use of these skill set which comes to your rescue, to be able to take better decisions? Okay, so you could be a mom, career-based woman, where even at office, you need to be very proactive. You need to be taking those calls, very effective calls, not just for yourself, for your team. And if you're in business, needless to say that you need to be on your toes to make sure that it's highly fast-paced and highly competitive. So it is important to be in all social media platforms. At the same time, you be available for your customers, those who are loyal, and then the incoming customers. You need to keep your sales and rest of the activities going, right? So it is important to, what would you need, what are those things that needed for you to keep your optimal performance? So those skills are supposed to be entrepreneurial, skill building abilities, right? So those are things that we will see, what is needed for busy moms in this entire series, okay? Using emotional intelligence. We're going to be covering 100 episodes and we are just halfway through, not yet halfway also. So today, we have started with emotional insight in the last previous episodes. So if you have not watched it, I would recommend you to do so. Today, what we will see is, using the same emotional insight, how can we take better decisions in all aspects? If you're a leader, if you are a parent, if you are a business women, or if you're an individual looking after your own well-being and your family well-being, what amount of decision making is needed, and how can you make use of emotional cues, body language, non-verbal communication, and emotions that you are going through, and the ability to read the emotion in others? How can it help you to take better decisions? So understanding emotions and understanding the cues is the episode today. And if you are someone who has been wanting to develop the skill, I think this is an episode for you. And if you really think that it is going to be useful for somebody else, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you like any of these episodes, give me a like symbol and love symbol. And also, please do share it with somebody whom you think it is most needed. Because emotional intelligence is the 21st century most demanded skill set. It is highly important more than ever, because we are entering into mental health pandemic. It is important to cater to irrespective of any gender, any age group, any region, wherever they are. Being emotionally intelligent is the, what do you call it? It's not just a highly demanded skills for monetary benefit. It is also to bring that peace and well-being. Okay. On that note, this series itself is dedicated to busy moms. It is also for other people who wants to develop emotional intelligence, because these are all free resources available. So if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Because whenever There's going to be a live, you will be notified. And whatever videos and, generally podcast will also be taken, in the near future, I'll be publishing the podcast also. So there's going to be a lot of resources available for you to enhance your emotional intelligence awareness, right there sitting at the comfort of your home. And I'm also bringing a podcast on the same topics in a very nutshell format. On the fly, on the go, you can just hear all those strategies, whatever we are discussing right now here with the presentation in a more detailed format. Dedicating the angle of various aspects of life, like different roles, right? So we would need to know how emotional intelligence is going to help us in different roles that we are juggling with. But over there in podcast, it's going to be an essence of what we are discussing in this 40 to 50 minutes in this video will be there out there for 20 minutes as a podcast. And there are also articles written to make sure that you really know what are the emotional intelligence problems. Like, what are the challenges if somebody doesn't have an emotional intelligence, especially for Indian moms. Um, in the Indian home setup, how the mornings are so chaotic. I'm sure any part of the world, when you have children and then it's a morning routine or it's a bedtime routine, or if you're a business entrepreneur right now at this point of time. I'm a digital entrepreneur. I know as a solopreneur what amount of challenges we go through. We don't have properly, we don't have a support, especially in the western side of the world. Everything is independent, so we lack that kind of an emotional and physical support here, right? And over there in the native regions, there are blocks coming up for solopreneurs in order to understand and keep ourselves up and running. Okay, it's the same with somebody who's handling with teams. As they grow and they scale up, there could be many other demands coming out from people and process and also from customers. So how are we going to handle all this? Because whenever there is a human being involved, okay, we ourselves are individual human being, right? So there is going to be an emotions there underneath. So how are we just cannot dismiss emotions, because if we dismiss emotions, that means the human element is almost gone, right? That is why AI is actually creating a disruption for people who rely on empathy skills, who rely on building deeper connections and meaningful conversations. They are not scared of AI, because once the AI is invaded, then the human element itself is gone from the day-to-day life. Okay, so we are seeing the effect of it already. Mental health is the looming effect right there in the corner, and it is coming flashing, near our eyes. So the moment you try to ignore or dismiss, it is only going to manifest in various other dimensions where the life keeps telling us that is important, that you need to focus on the other area of improvement where there are human elements in it. Okay, so more than the process, of course, for process, you need a logical, consequential thinking. That is where our left brain is going to help. And for you to deal with emotions, more of your right brain has to be activated. And hence, the series is dedicated to help you activate your left brain, right brain, and midbrain together using few strategies and related to the particular episode. If you have been watching all these episodes for like 41 episodes we have done for different skill set, we have gone deeper into taking each skill set, like we spoke about resilience, critical thinking, problem solving, proactivity, emotional agility. So, and right now we are seeing emotional insight. So every skill that we are talking, we go deeper into those episodes, those skills and talents, and also wider. So what happens if emotional insight for a parent, and what happens for a career woman, what happens with a business woman, or what happens with any normal high stake professionals, or leadership. So somebody is entering the leadership role irrespective of any gender for that matter, or even for a student. I've been talking about students and professionals. Just graduated professionals also is needed, and school going students also need emotional intelligence. So with that being said, this series itself is dedicated to improve your emotional intelligence using your brain power. So without missing a bit, it is important to make sure that I align you to left brain, right brain, and midbrain activation. Any episode, any skill that we will take, we will approach using these, three approaches. Okay, logical, emotional brain, and midbrain. Because midbrain is where you're going to take the blend of both logic and um, the emotional part of it and creating the magic of it. Okay. So that being said, we will see what is coming up for today. And today's episode is exclusively for insight, okay, which is a subset of emotional intelligence, which is one skill set, one talent in emotional intelligence, okay? And how do you make smarter and most balanced decision making? You're going to learn emotional insight tips, which can help you continue your logic and feelings to make thoughtful choices. So the benefits are, we're going to angle today's episode towards, this dimension of bringing logic and emotions, making that decisions with clarity and confidence, staying true to your values. Okay, being authentic, aligning your choices, your decisions towards your value will be the most stable decisions that you can take. And then how will you enhance a relationship using this? Because we are dealing with emotions inside, and emotions are related with people. And when it is related with people, we're talking more about communication and relationship. Okay. But when we are, even though we are dealing with communication, relationship, and people related, we need to take the logic brain as well. Because without any shape, without any structure, without any boundaries, you just cannot go wilder all the time or impromptu all the time, or, proper decisions will not occur if the decisions are not backed up by logic. It's okay. I mean, when you're dealing with emotions and people, it's okay to respect each other's feelings and emotions, but you just cannot go swayed by emotions all the time. Otherwise, it won't be a stable decision. It'll be an impulsive decisions all the time. Okay. With that being said, today we will see what is emotional insight using left brain and right brain. So when we talk about emotional insight, your left brain, the logical brain, this side is my left brain. So I'm showing this side. So your left brain is actually analyzing emotions. So immediately it'll start analyzing emotions. Emotions can be sadness, anger, or happiness, disappointment, disgust, and all that. These are core elements, core emotions. Okay. Now these analysis will start happening whenever you start, changes in your emotional state of mind. Okay. That is what is going to influence your thoughts. Okay. Now you're going to weigh the rational and emotional elements before deciding it. That is where you're going to analyze. So you need to understand principally your emotional state of mind is going to influence the thought. Suppose you're not feeling good. Maybe the AC is not working or the heater is not working. What happens is the physiological changes can happen. That is also going to change your emotional state of mind. Basically, emotions are more biologically driven. Okay. When a tiger comes in, what happens is you're not going to think, right? In fact, your cues, your body will show those symptoms as like maybe your hands are sweaty or you're shivering, you sometimes freeze. Okay. So these are biologically driven. All right. Now, these could have an influence of your thoughts also. Suppose there's going to be a board meeting, okay, where you're going to be presenting it. It depends on the person. Suppose the person is not yet, prepared well. The fear could take on a high intensity level. Even when a person is prepared well, in a boardroom setup, okay, the entire setup can jitter that person, can create nervousness. That person can be anxious. Because of that, there'll be biological symptoms. Okay. This is again could be reversal. Suppose you start sweating, you start shaking. That could also be influencing your thought to go negatively. Maybe you're already prepared. Maybe you're like, you're 100% clear in what you have to convey. But something emotionally, something biologically happen can also influence your emotions. I mean, thought process. Or a simple thing is, suppose you have a headache. How does your day occur? How do you conduct your day? It spoils everything, right? That particular disturbance is going to influence all your thoughts. The entire day runs over that. So that is how emotions actually influence your thoughts and actions. Okay. In order to tame it, or in order to make use of those emotional insights, you need to open up your left brain, right brain, and midbrain. That is how your left brain, when you have to activate, then you're going to analyze it and weigh it using the rational behind it and the emotional element behind it. You just cannot dismiss either of the side. Okay. You cannot say, okay, this is a boardroom meeting and I don't care about the emotions. Of course you do. Because if your AC is too cold, if the thermostat is very cold, do you think the boardroom presenter, even if it's going to be a high stake client, do you think they're going to be comfortable? They're going to be listening to your pitch, and will it be successful? No. The comfort is even more important. Similarly, the energy on the room is important. All right. Although it is going to be very logically evaluative, discussions. We're talking about budgets, or we're going to be talking about the future aspect of it, project deadlines, or some roadblocks. But there are people inside in it. It is not just the AI. You're not going to deal with mission, right? There are people inside in it, and there are brains, right? People have brains, and brains are also working. So if you're going to be logically all the time working, maybe the other person demands something different. Even though it's a board meeting, their demand could be their own comfort level and their own the vibes they are looking for. Somebody in the room, maybe they want somebody to be warm and smiling. Okay. And it could be a different case scenario back home also. Suppose you're going to carry the same vibe of boardroom meeting, and you're like very strict and like a principal walking down to your home, your living room or a dining room. What kind of energy is created, and what is the reaction of the people around you? The family immediately takes a different churn, right? So you just cannot have a peaceful decision making or conversations at all. It will not be an open dialogue, because the expectations in in that scenario could be different. So that time you may have to embrace the right brain activity there. Maybe some creativity can kick in, or some warmth can kick in, whatever empathy can kick in, whatever is needed for you to build a deeper connection. Okay, family could be different, totally. Boardroom could be totally different, but yet there is logic needs to be backed up even when it's going to be a family discussion. You just cannot go on forever, or you know at the same time you cannot take impulsive decisions based on biases, likes and dislikes and all that. So there has to be some evaluative during the family decisions also. Suppose you're planning for a vacation, you without considering the budget in it, the logistics in it, or even when before you could reserve something, sometimes impromptu planning can work. But then when there is a family's, it's going to be big and small children are involved, you would like to plan a little bit, ahead. So planning is a part of logical brain. Okay. So with that being said, your right brain is going to approach in a way that it is help you to tap that intuitional power, where you're going to start reading those emotional cues, body language, non-verbal communication, tonality, the energy of that people inside that room. So you're going to consider how your decisions are going to be aligned with those people in it and their intentions and values behind it. Okay. So it is very important to make a note of, intentional choices. If you are, emotional intelligence is all about making quality choices. Those are intentional. That is what is going to determine your quality of life. So when I say intentional choices, it deals with what is the goal and what is the value system there. You may be a different person, right? Your identity is totally different. Are you able to align with that identity with the other person? It is hard to align with values and choices in an official setup, but it is important to be aware of the interruptions there. Whatever is the pitfalls, blocks, because of this misalignment, there has to be an awareness, because accordingly you can change your conversation approach. Suppose there is a misalignment. See, we a lot of things is going out of control. You cannot take a control of certain things which is not in your purview, right? You cannot expect that the person that you are going to be working as a team has to be aligned with your values. No, that's not what we want to say as an intentional choices. What we are saying is somewhere we need to align. Suppose the alignment is not there, at least we need to be aware of the misalignment happening. So when you get that awareness, you're going to, act differently, so that you don't have conflicts. You're not going to, delay the project, or there are no disruptions happening. So awareness is equally important, if not the alignment initially, but awareness will help you take that necessary steps for you to align. So that is what we are going to see as a right brain activity today. Now, today, we will also see why emotional insight, in order to take a better decisions, the benefits of it. One, it is going to give you a long-term decisions, because decisions aligning with values and emotional well-being will definitely keep that pace a little bit longer. You can feel safe, you can feel comfortable, um, you know, you can embrace the journey for a longer time. That is why it is important to have family, value systems inside the family. Because family are those people, any relationship for that matter, in our holy scriptures, it is written that more than one solar cycle, if somebody is aligning or working towards working together, whether it is working or being together for more than one solar cycle, there is a relationship already formed. Okay. In order to sustain that relationship, it is important to make it long term. It is important to align with value systems and emotional well-being. If not, at least the value system is more personalized. If not, you're not able to align that, or maybe you're not even clear in your own values. Maybe other people values are not openly communicated. um, at least emotional well-being is important. Now, what are those emotional well-being? What are those strategies is something that we will discuss today. But when it comes to family, it is best to work out on that. I mean, it is best to even tell your children what is to be expected inside the family. Because as a parent, as a mom and dad, when they are coming together to start a family, it is very important to those partners to actually align with value system. Because for a long-term relationship, okay, then it is naturally going to improve your relationship. Empathetic decisions can happen, which can strengthen the personal and professional connections if there is an alignment towards values. Now, what are those values? Values are example like honesty, fairness, family, roots, you know, spiritual practices could be one value system, or eating healthy could be one value system, cleanliness could be one value system, um, you know, speaking compassionately could be one value system, kindness, generosity. So these are examples of value systems, and this is what is determining who we are. Okay. If you have the correct understanding of, there are a lot of value determinator tests available on internet. So in my community, I have a course called Core Value Determiner. So this is the first step that I will, coach my students when they come to my community. So only after aligning the core values, they can actually set their goals. In fact, before setting the goals, once they figure out core values, we will also open up their brain styles. Once I have the EQ, psychometric brain styles coming to them, because that's where they're going to have the left brain, right brain, midbrain, top talents. So they're going to pick up the top talents and align it with value systems. And then when they set their goals, it's going to be solid. No more external motivation is required, because I am going to design my goals, whatever is suitable for me and for my family or my future goals. So I don't require anybody to tell me what to do. So I keep achieving my goals. So this is why it is important to align with core values in the initial stage. And then it is going to reduce the regret. Because even if it's going to be hobby, right? If it is an unknown zone, right? I'm venturing into some hobby which I have the heart and passion to do, but I may not have the resources. I don't know what's happening over there. Will I even have a future, and all those doubts, inhibitions? So I'm walking towards the unknown zone. What is going to keep me going is my value system and my goals. And the support, of course, I'm getting through the improved relationship. So this is all is needed for anybody to be successful. Okay. Today, we will also see case studies as to how they have used their emotional insight with that of fusing their core values. And then they are able to decide for their life, both professional and personal. Now, challenges if you don't have this emotional insight, it is going to create emotional bias. Over reliance on emotions can cloud judgment also. Because I told you, there are other elements that you need to understand. Emotions itself is under the iceberg. But underneath that is your values, belief system, right? Faith. And these are underneath where they are going to influence your thoughts and actions. Action and performance is your upper layer. That is the surface that people look at it, right? That's what is going to determine the success in the society. But underneath that, those are all roots. Those are supposed to be taken care by us. Okay. But if you can keep it very strong and intact, and you're able to read those things, align it to your goals, then clouding will not happen. Because even when you're over relying on a particular emotion, that awareness will help you come out of it. Okay. So it is very important to have these three steps in cycle: awareness, application, and alignment. Okay. Once you align, you have to immediately also have that awareness. Every now and then, you'll have to have a review to make sure that you're in progress. It is serving you or not. Because at any stages, we can get swayed. Remember, we are talking about brain skills. I've been telling you in this episode that it is important not to go extreme right, neither extreme left. Okay. It is important to keep yourself in the mid portion. That is where functionally we can, there is no mastery in emotional intelligence at all. It is all about how you're able to keep it in moderate and make it functionally, optimally functional. So that whenever you need left logic data or whenever you need emotional creativity data, you can actually take a blend. But if you're very far ahead in right side, you're too comfortable in creativity, in dealing with people's emotions, then taking logic data will be very difficult because it is somewhere far away from your current status, right? So that will not help you in taking a quality decisions, because overthinking or overdoing on that area can lead to decision paralysis. You won't be able to take a quick action because you're far away from the logical brain. It's the same way how you're too much evaluative, thinking about numbers, logical reasoning, progress only and budgets only. You're not able to take risk because risk is more of creativity brain, right brain. And it's also about dealing with people. If you're too concerned about only numbers and reason, and you're not respecting the, people's emotions, feelings part of it, it's going to be difficult. So then it'll only exhaust you. Either ways, it can exhaust you. Constant emotional analysis can also be mentally draining. Emotional analysis, emotional only. But here also you're analyzing it too much. You are so very comfortable, or maybe you gained mastery that you're not able to even come out of it. Right? So any decisions have to be driven by emotions, but backed up by logical reasoning. And statistics says that leaders use emotional insight, reporting to 31% of higher job satisfaction and employee engagement. So it's going to prepare a positive work environment. Okay, because they are going to consider the emotional impact of preventing toxic work environments. These are people who can proactively think about their employees and take decisions because they have the superpower called emotional insight. So leaders need it, making important business and team decisions. Parents need it, navigating family decisions, affecting emotional dynamics, and also professionals who are able to balance their career choices with that of emotional well-being. Career choices being progressive, advancing in career, making choices like, shifting to another location or shifting to a different job, also considering their emotional well-being. Are they even really aligned? Is it their passion, or is it part of their goals, long-term goals, or is it helping their family? So if you can fuse that emotional insight with that of your logical reasoning, be it career, be it business decisions, or any big decisions, then that's going to be stable. Emotional insight and career choices. Let's see. Now we have spoken about importance of it, advantages and disadvantages. Now we'll see where are those areas you can apply this emotional insight for making choices, right? First, in career choices, you're going to evaluate job offers. Okay, your left brain is activated now. Balance your salary expectations with emotional satisfaction. For example, if high paying role happens with long hours, is it aligning to your well-being and family time? Is something that we need to see. It is very typical for busy moms, right? Because once you, take up a high stake decisions, it is important to get the support from family, right? Otherwise, it's going to be a turmoil for every day, and long-term journey will not happen. So it is important to evaluate that kind of decisions using your emotional well-being. Are you even aligned? Because if there is no peace at family, if there is constant turmoil in family, we will not be naturally at peace. So it's going to interrupt. Similarly, you're going to assess your work environment, analyze that company culture, right? If it's too ambitious, it might not be suitable for you. At the same time, if it's too stagnant, if it's too, old school type, maybe it's not progressive enough for you to work there, right? So you need to observe those, team's culture and communication style and accordingly, match your preferences and plan your career path, choosing the trajectory that is going to reflect your core values. Very, very important, right? Helping if, see, there are two ways to get energized. One, you need to choose the job where you're more of a serving. Okay. Typically in business, that's what happens. If you are in the service mode, if that energizes you, then you may want to continue that. But if you are somebody who prioritize your role with meaningful, individual contribution, then you might want to choose that way. Many people like to be at peace as a solopreneur, right? Or a solo individual. Somebody, their brain style demands company of others. They like to be with company. That's how they can accelerate their performance. So for someone, it could be a combo. Sometimes they like to be alone. Sometimes they need team. It could be a combo too. That is why it will be interesting to see 8 different brain styles. Okay. There is a cognitive psychometric tool that is developed, and that's what I follow. So I'll tell you, if you stay till the end of the episode, I'll tell you there is an invite for masterclass where I'll open up a brain style, scale where you can understand what kind of combination is there and where do you fit in, and what is the advantages of that brain style, and how can you communicate with the other brain style. So it'll be a very interesting workshop. I'll give you that invite. Just hang on. But these are some outcomes if you really can understand the brain styles and work towards that. Okay. Now, emotional insight in parenting could be discipline with empathy. Suppose your child is acting out, okay, using hands and both verbal and physical, you know, tantrums are coming in. You might want to put your foot down to say, right? Maybe you can use these words called, I see you, you're frustrated, but raising hands is not an okay thing. It's not fine because that's not our value system. Or speaking curse words are not acceptable. So these are something that you need to instill. So these could be value systems. These could be code of honor, cheating on others or lying, within the family or even outside at any occasion. Doesn't matter where they lie, but lying is a no-no, right? If you have these things very clearly communicated to your child, then it is easier for them to instill in their behavior. Okay. And then comes the discipline part of it. If you can understand, first of all, where they are frustrated, like if you can tell them, give them that assurance that you're able to see them that they're frustrated, because that is what is more important than telling them what is the value system, no, or telling them what is expected out of them. So emotional insight is actually telling you to give you that insight and stand in empathy, right? Empathy in action is important than the consequences. How you deal with, you know, discipline itself is a logical step. So that logic can come later. But before that, you need to respect that emotion, what's going on with the child. So understanding the child's needs is also important at every stage of life, even if it's going to be an extracurricular activity. Okay. We need to understand where that child passion is converging or not. Interest, likes, because apart from logistics, sometimes picking up, dropping, and then, staying there, we are going to lose a lot of time. And as a parent, we are also contributing at any point of time, whenever it is outside the school curricular activities. So are we ready, first of all, right, as a family? Because otherwise it will be a turmoil. Sometimes the child is very, very talented. So, at that point of time, we need to give in. Sometimes the child is not, maybe not able to understand. Maybe, little bit of coaxing is needed. That encouragement or motivation is needed because you see the long-term benefit of it. And maybe the child is not able to pick up that importance now, but with some persistence, right? That can be a bigger fruition. So either ways, you need to first of all understand the child needs. Suppose the child is not at all interested, maybe there is a pressure, social peer pressure. There's no need for the child to, be committed there. So either you can communicate that need, make them the child understand, or you understand the child and take action accordingly. Okay. It is important to read that emotional readiness and social needs. Fostering emotional intelligence. So whatever we will be talking about in this 100 episode is a subset of emotional intelligence itself, right? All these skill set, all talents, all episodes is a subset of emotional intelligence. But in essence, what we are trying to bring in parenting itself is fostering that emotional intelligence habits at every stage. So developing that emotional awareness and insight is very, very important in parenting. So maybe you're going to create a daily ritual of sharing their feelings during dinner time, or the best time is when they come from school. Okay. This has been working like a charm for us. So because that's the time that the child is full of, fresh with all that, they just want to vent out or sometime want to just shut down, which is still okay. But just a word asking, did you have your food fully? Was it good? Or was it your day today? Or something like what was challenging? Those stories, what happened in the school ride, the bus ride, or is there something interesting that you want to share? Just a small opening dialogue that can inculcate few conversations. Certain kids don't even want to share, which is still okay. Just a one or two words is still okay. But from our side, if you can bring that ritual and tell the child from the beginning and from the elementary school, mama wants to know because so that I can help you, better in terms of maybe giving her favorite recipes. She may be wanting to have something, he or she, or it could be something that they want to have some school stationery or some need. Maybe they want to pursue some classes, they got influenced, or something is going on in them that is disturbing. So something will come out if they, speak. But it is our duty to give that environment, that open nudge, so that they open up. It is important to create that vulnerability. Okay. Being vulnerable is a secret sauce for fostering emotional intelligence. You will have to be vulnerable to approach them so that they will also get vulnerable to share. So it's a two-way activity. Okay. That is I would say it's a golden nugget that I came to know when I went deeper into emotional intelligence, understanding what is, and then also practicing, because only when you practice, you get your own insight. Now, emotional insight in leadership is very, very simple. First is assessing the team dynamics. Suppose you're very new or the team is new, it is important to assess, have a either one-on-one check-ins or as a regular check-in, team check-in, to understand emotional undercurrents. Because that's where you're going to find a lot of cues. Suppose somebody is not coming to the meeting calls at all. There is some signal. Either they don't like to engage themselves, or there's some conflict, cooking in. Conflict could be low intensity or high intensity, right? It can be from conflict of between personalities or between understanding, right? So you need to understand these nonverbal cues, communication patterns, the group energy. So that is the first thing. Second thing is make inclusive decisions. It is important to stand and use empathy skills and also give that ownership for them to come out with solutions. In the previous episode, we have seen good amount of strategies from different episodes like creative thinking, proactivity. We have used those skill set to bring about a lot of strategies which will help people to get in the shoes of, empathy could be very easy if you use those strategies, and also emotional insight. So all these episodes are very interconnected. Okay. When you make an inclusive decisions that you're able to, take multiple perspectives from your own team. And if you're going to encourage them to take a decision, they're going to own it. So it's going to be inclusive, and their decisions or whatever decisions you're taking is not going to affect the team members at all, right? Their motivations or concern, because it is coming from their perspective. So especially when you're changing project roles or something, please consider have a one-on-one with them to understand what is their career aspirations. Is it even aligning? And then individual comfort zone is also important to maintain the team harmony. Okay. So if that care and concern is given, that attention is given for that employee, then they are motivated naturally. Okay. That's how you make it very inclusive. And implementing changes. Find out new initiatives that could, with careful attention to emotional readiness also. Are they emotionally charged up? If there is a conflict, it could be a conflict of interest or value systems, or it could be conflict of, even salary, technical skills could also be missing. So we need to figure out that missing element. And before even making major, it could be a reorganization, or it could be shuffling of team members, or additional responsibilities. It is important to have that check-in to address those concerns. And gathering feedback, making sure that it is inclusive, again, assessing the team dynamics. These three steps is good enough for you to gain that insight. Because at office, it's going to be totally different, busy environment. You will not find time to keep reading those emotional cues and all that, right? As and when you meet people, it is, you need to have a progress, you need to have a process set. That's where your logical brain is going to come, that there needs to be a structure. So even before any change happens, you're going to have a check-in. That's where you're going to assess. And then you're going to give them the ownership and regularly ask them to take initiatives. And you're going to celebrate that. You're going to encourage them. You're going to recognize them. So these are all process. So if you have this process and regular review and check-ins happens, then taking emotional insight becomes easy. But if you don't have the shape, if you don't have the structure in place, randomly taking those cues is not, we're not talking about superhuman super hero abilities. These are all human abilities. So you need to make it efficient. Emotional insight and relationship, it's a little bit tricky, but use these strategies, then it becomes easy. You're going to have an open communication. You're going to discuss major life changes by considering your partner's emotional needs. Okay. Both your needs and emotional intelligence. I mean, see, emotional intelligence itself, it's two component. One is self and others. So you're going to take care of your needs also, and also your partner needs. So when deciding to relocate, that's the place where we're going to take a major decisions of, one is about logistics. You need to shell off, and then you need to pack up everything and then settle down. So that itself it's draining, both physical and mental. There's also emotional draining happening. Okay, because there's a lot of anxiety, because we are stepping into unknown. It could be new environment, new people, new, everything is new. So you aligning to your energy values is very, very important. And that partner and you has to be, you both have to be aligning, not just with your goals, values, and monetary logistics and all that, also emotional needs. You need to have a check-ins. Are you comfortable? You're going to ask each other's fears, hopes, and what is their plans. I mean, what's happening to them. So ask them to talk, right? Open up. That's how you can address the concerns, and that's how you can also let them address your concerns. Because if you don't open up, they're not going to have that telepathic ability to understand your concerns. So there has to be an open dialogue, and then resolution is very, very easy, because you're going to use the same emotional insight to navigate those disagreements empathetically. Not start, see, of course, there are strategically decisions needs to be derived, but then first empathetically, then it becomes easy for you to derive the strategy. But if you go first strategy, first discipline, and then empathy, doesn't work that way. Okay. So especially during budget discussions, acknowledge your partner's anxiety. Then financial discussions will be very, very easy. Trust me, financial discussions are the most stressful topics between partners, between, family partners. So if you can express what's happening within you, the fears, the beliefs, the hopes, or assumptions at every stage, then it is, easier to break the complexity. So emotional insight is a very, very easiest and the most powerful tool. Emotional support is also important. You're going to provide that reassurance, provide that support, that comfort, that safe zone, no judgment zone, especially, daily also. It is not during only those intensive discussions. It's also on a daily check-ins. It could be a long day for your partner, maybe because of driving or some issues at office or something personally bothering them, physically also, some mental, stress. So it is important to have a check-in. how was your day? Did you have it, solve your problems, or is there anything pending? Is there anything disturbing them? So if you can have that compassionate listening ears, sometimes you need to be a problem solver. Many times you just have to be listener. And listening has been active listening is lost for a long time now. So active listening is the most effective tool for relationship. But we're not doing that effectively, even for our child. We don't have time. Even the child doesn't have a time now because gadgets have invaded. So that's a very pathetic situation. So even before the gadgets has come in, emotional support, rendering that reassurance was, something that we were not taught, and it was only churning in that time. But right after pandemic hit, now gadgets have come in, AI has disrupted the world. God knows what could happen if it is, progressing this way. It is very important to build that deeper connections using those simple steps like active listening, have some compassion, consideration, have that regular check-ins. So all these episodes I would have told about certain strategies. Please use those strategies for your rescue, for your well-being, and for all others also. That will definitely help you great way. Now, in health, it's very simple. You're going to use the same insights for you to decide your, exercises. Because if you are a person who like to be solo, as I said, figure out what you can do on a, individual subscription. But if you are a person who wants to be in a group workout, then find out some classes based on that and also align with your passion. Suppose you're not interested in dancing, you're not the dancing person. You don't have to, right? But it is very important to align. Just because there's a peer pressure, you don't have to actually, because that is where you're aligning your values there, right? And mindful eating, understand your emotional needs. There are two different hungers. One is physical hunger, another one is emotional hunger. Emotional hunger is mostly because of different, mood swings, right? At the same time, some anxiety, stress, stress eating is is the killer for weight loss. So please make sure that you have these check-ins, have a mood day journaling every 3 times, like, morning once, noon once, and then evening before going to bed once. If you have these check-ins every day, just maintain a journal only for 30 days consistently. And you will see, first thing is you have got into habit of emotional check-in. You don't need a journal next 30 days. You're going to mentally do it. Second thing is you're going to learn what are those feeling words. Because not every time you will have the clarity on what is happening within you, because feelings are very complex. Sometimes it could be standalone, sometimes it could be mixed. Okay. So we need to be, highly literate in reading emotions within ourselves. So the check-ins will help you there. Third thing is, the moment you have this habit created, it is easy for you to immediately have a check-in and navigate it. So that is why these things will come as a mindful practice, especially with eating. That's a, biggest thing that we dismiss that, and we assume that it is a hunger, and then we start. Even for, hydration, lack of water could also create that hunger, but actually it's not hunger, it's actually thirst. So that awareness should be there. And stress management, we need to understand the emotional preferences also. Just because, it's been told that you exercise, you go for gym, and then you lose your weight. And just because you are told that you do this, you lose your stress, doesn't matter. Are you aligned with that? Okay. If you're not aligned, that itself is going to create another stress. So it is important to either work in solitude individually or try for group if that energizes you. Somewhere you need to align and you need to know your preferences. With this, I'm going to talk straight away your 5 brain strategies where you can activate your left brain, right brain, and midbrain. And with that case study, we'll see how this brain style really worked with somebody who's very successful. And after that, before wrap up, I'll tell you how you can get some rewards by using those strategies. So the first strategy is left brain. You're going to pause and reflect. 3 steps. You're going to recognize the emotions, whatever comes in, identify that emotional state. Maybe you can write a check-in, journals, and you're going to analyze that influence what is creating. You're going to consider how emotions are affecting your thoughts simply by observing and take time. You're going to allow that space before making important decisions. Pause. So pause is an effective tool in emotional intelligence. So for pausing and reflecting, you're going to do three steps only. One is recognizing emotions, analyzing that influence, and take time, especially before important decisions. Then comes your right brain. You're going to identify emotional triggers. If it's going to be repeated, both within you and with your child or with your partner or with anybody, your team member, you're going to have these three steps. Self reflect. First, reflect on within yourself. Regular examination of your own emotional responses to a situation. That can happen only when you have a check-in, when you know what are those feelings are available and what is happening within you. If you have that emotional awareness going in you, then it is easier for you to reflect. Then you're going to recognize that pattern. Even before it occurs, you're going to use those reflection to know, okay, if this is what is happening, this is how I'm going to react. And this is the outcome happened, right? If she is there in that space, maybe, you don't like somebody. And if you see that person in that room, it is going to be a trigger in you. And this is how you're going to react. So if you can understand this pattern, right, then you need to also track it. If you can track those patterns, you will find a pattern, a theme in there. That is where you're going to recognize what are those emotional triggers. How you're going to do all this is use your journaling, because that is where you're going to maybe just keep writing whatever comes across as your experiences. Or if you have somebody, you can consult or talk to somebody as a uh, counselor. So there are various tools also I'll discuss with you. But in order to apply the strategies, you're going to self-reflect, pattern recognition, and start journaling. Okay. Then comes both brain. You're going to balance the logic and emotion brain. How? Logical analysis, that is examining the facts and data. Even if it's emotion, it is emotional data. You're going to analyze that fact. What happened before that? What actually triggered that person? And what could be the reason behind, or assumptions behind, or fears behind? These are all analytical brain. And then you're going to consider emotional consideration is going to happen by reflecting on that emotional impact. You know, you can imagine what would be going through in them when they are angry, when they're really upset. That is where your empathy is going to be in action to reflect on an emotional impact. And you're going to align with values. Okay. Why it is right now needed is because if you don't align, suppose, your values are not aligned. Let's say, for example, you don't have a kindness or, compassion or honesty or cleanliness or anything. Okay. Now, what will happen is you will align your goals or action towards something else, which may not be needed for that person. So it is very, very important to be aware of values. Maybe the same honesty is needed for the other person also. Or maybe the honesty is least priority. They are looking for compassion, maybe. Or maybe they are looking for action, problem solving, techniques, tips. Maybe that should be the value for them. So for them, you rendering kind words may not be satisfied for them because that's how their brain style works. So in essence, what you need to know is you need to first of all reflect on those emotional impact and align within yourself. If there is, first of all, it starts with you. If you can reflect and consider your own emotional impact and later on align with values and then take integrated choices, it is going to be solid. You're going to apply the same thing with others. So you're going to combine the logical and emotional insights for balanced choices. Okay. So analysis, consideration using your values, and then both combination will give you the action orientation, both for yourself and for others. Then you're going to consult with others. That's you're totally a left brain. You're going to take multiple perspectives. So you're going to seek diverse perspective and asking trusted individuals, not everybody, because nobody, right now, no, they don't have time and there's a lot of FOMO. So nobody is interested to share openly. So you're going to ask only those trusted people who can guide you really well. Otherwise, people will mislead. Listen actively. Paying attention is very, very important to read emotional insights and reflect on the feedback. Okay. You will understand whether the person is intentional about it or not. And aligning with your values is your right brain. You're going to identify the core values, first of all, what clearly matters to you emotionally, and then evaluate that alignment also with the decision making. Maybe emotionally, I may like to have a scuba dive or bungee jump. Okay. I'm very passionate about it. Could be, for example. But right now, I'm in a place where I don't find it. Maybe the logistics is still not affordable for me. I may not be able to align my, family calendar for a vacation or somewhere that I'm not able to reach that spot. So you need to identify that alignment also. You need to consider how you know that decision is going to affect my values or not. Now, this is just a passion related values. What if values like honesty? Suppose you have a family member who lies. It could be a child or it could be an adult. So that lying is actually disturbing you. It is not helping you to take a proper choice because you just cannot trust that person. Whatever happens, you will identify the pattern and it is going to disrupt, right? That's a high risk one, right? And then make value based choices. You're going to choose options in that manner to honor your emotional values. Maybe putting your foot down to say, this is not it, or maybe you're not ready to take a call. That could be one decision itself. But you need to communicate that to that person very clearly. Okay. Okay. As I said, interesting case study for this particular skill set is Indra Nooyi. You all know that she's an Indian born but American ex-executive of PepsiCo, who has been for a long time among the 100 popular women leader, influential leader, okay, for her ability to keep up the organization as the most critical point of time where she brought in a lot of process streamlining and she held that organization really well when it's most needed. As a mother, as a family person, okay, rooted with culture and values, how was she able to demonstrate that entrepreneurial abilities? And I was always intrigued to know, as a woman, as a mother, as an ambitious career woman, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, how did she use the brain style? What kind of brain styles or brain talents really worked in her? So when I did some studies, I could understand her strategic thinking, analyzed the business decisions through data and emotional understanding. Because she's a lady, maybe it's natural for them to understand because she's a mom. It's quite natural, but it is also something to do with strategic thinking, okay, where she aligned that emotional insight, understanding towards the business decisions, what is needed for the business, not dismissing the emotional insight that she was able to take it from people working with her. And then empathetic leadership, connected with employees, considering their emotional well-being, and balanced approach. So she aligned her business goals with the emotional needs of the team. That's what brought her a lot of laurel and success. So her leadership style is simple: empathy, fostering connections with employees, focus both on long-term goals with short-term emotional well-being, emotional intelligence, midbrain. So making decisions, both logical and emotional aspects, is what had driven them their success in their own field. Okay, it doesn't matter whether they're women or men. Okay, even in men, we have gone through studies. Empathetic leadership in men also was found. That's how they have driven their company. Now, with this case study, you can also build your emotional insight with three steps. One is awareness. You're going to pattern recognize and name your emotions. Then you're going to build that empathy, actively listening and trying to understand others' emotions. And also remember, you understand your emotions. Actively listen to your own needs and emotional insights also. Okay, because your values, your alignment is equally important. Okay, emotional regulation. After that, you need to be able to navigate and move on. Suppose you are swayed by other people's emotions, you are getting into analysis paralysis. Decision making will be very tough. You need to move on. Okay. For that, you need to regulate. And then in difficult decision making, how will you use emotional insight? You're going to acknowledge complexity first of all. You're going to recognize that difficult decisions often involve conflict emotions. You should be ready to face that. Both within you, you should be knowing. You need to have a lot of affirmations. You need to have a lot of self talk. Okay, whatever is needed for self-emotional well-being. That's exactly what we will teach in our community, because that's the first, challenge, 21 days challenge that we all do, to be emotionally resilient, to learn what is emotional well-being within ourselves so that we can lend and extend that support for others. You're going to explore all those emotional outcomes. You're going to consider the emotional impact for each potential choice and seek support whenever it's required, especially with trusted individuals. So, three steps during difficult decisions. One is acknowledge the complexity. Then you're going to explore the emotional outcomes. What happens when you take this decision? What could be the emotional impact of it? If you can have that foresight, then you can prepare for the pitfalls. Then you're also going to seek support, because that's where you will get emotional support. Okay, because not everything that you can handle, some things can go wrong, before which you need to take multiple perspectives, right? And emotional intelligence in team dynamics is something that you need to read the emotional climate. You're going to assess individual teams, emotional insight, and conflict resolution, and keep them motivated. Okay, then future of emotional insight, we need to know, right? Because AI is disrupting. You will have a question as to where all these skills are used. I'll tell you, in AI integration also, emerging technologies may assist in emotional analysis for decision making also. AI is right now started understanding and learning what are those emotional cues in human beings. So workplace emphasis is also important, that you're going to grow focus in emotional intelligence and professional development. That is why it is most important skill set needed in 21st century. And educational integration is very, very important. It needs to be started from elementary school. Emotional vocabulary is the first foundation skills for emotional intelligence, and it needs to be started at schools. Okay. Then tools is journaling, simple meditation, and therapy. Figure out somebody who can help you in terms of counseling or giving you that professional guidance. It could be a coach, emotional intelligence coach like me, like a lot of people. So we will give you that necessary skills and strategies. This itself is a classic example. And in my community, I give, I offer a lot of other ways to develop not just emotional insight, a lot of other skills in emotional intelligence. At this point in time, if you have so many questions about where you stand, I'm going to directly give you the action step. First, I'm going to reward you with EQ quiz bundles where you can take that assessment to know where you stand. It's a fun learning questionnaire. You will take 10 questions and there will be right answers and wrong answers. You will know your scores and two or three tips for each question. So thereby, in a one particular format questionnaire, you're going to gain a lot of insights. Okay. That will help you not just for this episode, also for a lot of other episodes. Very critical skills will also be put as quiz bundles there. So it is coming to you free of cost, but you have to earn it by just engaging what you learned from this episode. By, sharing that as a comment, I will know that you've taken that sincere effort. Or share with us some interesting story that emotional insight really worked for you. Maybe you could be a parent who, have used emotional insights as a busy mom, that really worked, or as a business entrepreneur, it really worked for gaining customers, maintaining, sustaining those loyal customers, or at work. If you can give us some insights where it has worked and maybe some hacks here and there, as long as you're able to engage in this episode as comments, that means you have taken that enough step to learn and grow. Okay. And also help other people to grow, because it will inspire somebody who's reading your comment. Then I will give you 100% free coupon code to access this entire 100 quiz, quiz bundles. And then I'm also giving you a EQ workshop, masterclass exclusively for women, where we will talk about brain styles. How do you approach brain style? What are the three secrets? And how do you identify your brain styles so that you will be able to identify the other brain styles also? Thereby, you can enhance your communication and relationship. That will be very fun and fresh perspective of emotional intelligence at all. And then it will give you a lot of insights. Okay. With that being said, there are also free resources available. Whatever you're watching right now here on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe so that you will get notified whenever there is a live happening, or there could be a lot of videos that I will be sharing on emotional intelligence. So stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe to my Spotify, Instagram, and Substack, because you'll find a lot of resources everywhere in all these platforms. Okay. With that being said, emotional insight or emotional intelligence as such, it is just not a skill for a weekend or just for this 100 days life. It is something that is needed as a life skill. So it is needed not just for an adult, it is also needed for a child, for a teenager, for a student, for a professional, for a businesswoman, irrespective of any gender, any place, any age. So make use of these insights and tell us more as to how you want me to engage with what kind of interesting topic that you would like to know about emotional intelligence. If there is any challenges that you have in your life, let me know. I'll put that as a I'll give you a shout out first of all in order to coming up with this kind of an idea. I'll acknowledge that and also make sure that I'll do some episode on your question. Okay. That being said, stay tuned. Tomorrow I'll see you in the